Okay, so in the admissions screen, you can begin with any piece of information that you have that indicates that an animal is going to be brought to your facility for an upcoming visit. So if the owner has called, you can start with the owner information. If the RDVM has called, you can start with the RDVM's information. There's nothing that ties you to putting a certain piece of information into the system first. So that being said, if you click on the owner, because let's say that Whitney Whispers has called and she needs to bring her animal in, her animal Toby in for a visit. If I begin by typing in her information, you'll notice off to the right, as I tab off of a cell, the system actually is running a check to see if there are matches in the system, and anything that matches is popping into the list off to your right. And it's highlighting it in red. So when I only had Whitney in the system, there were multiple Whitney matches. When I entered in her last name and tabbed off of it, Whitney Whisper sort of floated to the top, and both her first and last name has been highlighted. Now, I can continue if I'm not sure, want to make sure, I can continue by adding in additional information. And as I tab off the cell, like I said, additional matching information is going to highlight in red and float to the top. So if I suspect that this is my actual client that she's been to our facility for, I can say, hey, have you been to our institution before? And she may say yes, or she may say no, because sometimes clients don't remember. But you might say, is your cell phone number this? Or ask for the cell phone number. And if it matches, then instead of continuing to type, you can simply double click on that patient or that client's card off to the right, and it will pop that person into the system. And there is a refresh that happens, so you'll notice that my screen is reloading. And when it reloads, when it comes back on, or refreshes, you'll see that owner's information on that tab of the page. And then you just proceed from there. So if Whitney Whispers is bringing her patient Toby in, I can go to patient. That's the next piece of information that we go to. And I can type in Toby. Notice that I have started before a pre-admission for a Toby Whispers. So I can actually click on Toby, and then I can ask her, is Toby a Yorkie, black and white Yorkie, born May 1st to 2015? And if she says yes, then I'm good to go. If she says no, then I can go to this little change card, and it takes me right back to the same screen, and I can just continue from there. So maybe the Toby she's bringing in this time is a poodle. It's black and white. Oops, did I miss the black and white in my option list? Male neutered. Maybe this Toby is 5 years old, approximately. Weighs 67 pounds. And that's all the information I have. If this Toby doesn't match, remember, off to the right is going to be anything system-wide that matches based on the information I typed in. So if I had something that matched a good number of things on this side, I might say, has Toby been owned by anyone else? Did you buy Toby or get Toby from another owner? And if she says yes, I can say, can you give me that owner's name? And then I can scroll through this list, and if I see a match, I can just click on it. If I don't see any matches, and we know this Toby's on it, then all I have to do is save, and it will save that information. So no more losing information. When they say, yes, this is the same one, you have to type information in again. No more of that in VetView. All right, and then I just proceed from there. So if I click on RDVM, I'll see that there's a DVM, Patricia Dragon, that's already associated with this owner. So I can say, is Patricia Dragon Toby's DVM as well, Toby's regular vet as well? And if she says yes, I can just click on Patricia Dragon. So the stuff to the left is stuff that's already associated with the other pieces of information that you've entered. And same thing with clinics. So she has a bunch of clinics. I know that the main one she is in, just because I do this on a regular basis, is this Red Dragon Veterinary Clinic. And I can ask if that's the clinic, that's her primary clinic. Now, it's not So what I've just done is for this visit, I have said the referring vet is Dr. Dragon and the referring clinic is Red Dragon Veterinary Clinic. There's also an option to more closely link that vet and that clinic to this patient, where you won't have to choose the options every time you create a new admission. And the way you do that is by setting them as the primary on the patient. So if I click this little icon to the right, it's going to say save changes and make Dr. Dragon the patient's primary DVM. If I click OK, then that sort of more closely ties those two pieces together, so that the assumption the system makes in the future is that Dr. Dragon is the primary vet, which is also the referring vet. And then same thing I'm going to do with the clinic. I'm just going to set it as the primary clinic, so it makes that tight association. If in the future I add Toby Whispers to another visit, so let's say he's coming in 6 months from now, I'm taking that call 6 months from this date. In that case, he went and saw an ophthalmologist, and the ophthalmologist is referring him to us. I can always go in and change it. So when I add Toby, it's going to default to Dr. Dragon and the Red Dragon Veterinary Clinic. But I can always change that by simply clicking on the little change icon here. Do not, and when you're training, you want to make sure that you don't train your folks to edit, because if you do this edit contact communication information, that's going to edit Dr. Dragon's contact information. So you don't want to go in here and change all the information to a different vet, because you're going to lose the history and all that jazz. So if you need to switch vets, you want to use the change contact, not the edit contact. And if you want to see additional information, there's little information icons that you can hover over, and that will give you the full address and contact information for those contacts. Once you fill out the top portion, you want to go, okay, the patient's coming in, they're going to see internal med. You can either start typing in, or you can choose from the drop down. We got some crazy stuff in our test system, so there's, I'd start to type in just because I know there's some wonky things in our test system. And then what appointment type are they coming in for? So if I know that this is a referral type and I have a emergency referral type of appointment, I can simply start typing in EMER or REFER, and it should pull that up. Otherwise, I can hit the drop down. And these are the appointment types that are specific to internal med. So this is what this service, the types of referrals that this service makes or takes in. And then you need to detail the main reason for the visit. Obviously, you want to be more explicit than that. And then personnel. Notice a couple of things. So this is a pre-admission. It's an admission. It starts off as a pre-admission. It has a pre-admission number. But there are some key pieces of information that we won't let you continue without. And what I mean by that is you won't be able to schedule the appointment until some key pieces of information are in the system. And those key pieces of information are: you have to have a patient and an owner, you have to have an admitting unit, you have to have an appointment type, you have to have a main reason or reason for visit, and you have to assign it to an attending clinician. So there's some shortcut buttons. There is an add me. So if I'm the attending, I can add myself. There's also an add personnel. So if I'm not the attending person, I can add personnel. So if I'm a front desk person, I can add personnel and then just start typing in their name. And then if they have multiple roles, you will be able to choose by clicking on the drop down. If they only have one role in the system, or one type in the system, then it will default in. So if I'm a faculty member, my only type is faculty, then it's going to pop me automatically into the system as faculty. And if I'm the only faculty member assigned to a case, then the system is going to assume that I'm the attending clinician. So notice that this little icon here has been checked, and if you hover over that icon, you should see. Anyways, it should pop up and say attending clinician, but that icon means you're this is the person that's the attending. This icon here means that they want information sent to them. So this is a send notifications icon. And then there's another icon off to the right that's an add me. It's the same exact as this. And then I'm just going to save that with a little save button. and then continue on. So I can schedule an appointment. Notice there's a section below, if you scroll down, that says other upcoming appointments for the client. So if you're talking to the client later on when they get there with their patient, you can say, okay, you also have, Fiona has an appointment on October 27th, and Ike has one on March 3rd. Are you aware of those dates, etc.? All right, and that also gives you a quick access. If you need to view information, you can hover over why they're coming in, and helps you sort of find them easier if you need to make changes to those appointments. All right, and then there's also some other options that we'll go through later, but that's basically how you get to the admission screen and start building an admission. There is the ability to assign a document to the pre-admission screen, and if you assign it to the pre-admission screen, it's going to appear as a button. So in this case, we created a document, a digital document called pre-admission, and we assigned it to the admission page, and that then created a button called pre-admission. If I click the button, it's going to ask me what document am I adding, and when I choose the pre-admission option, it then opens a document that I need to fill out. So obviously you want to put real data in there. Right, and then you can save that. You can, if you have permissions, you can verify that. Same thing is true with estimates, although estimates are by default sort of assigned to this page. So if you want to build an estimate, if you click the estimate button, it's going to create a new tab, and it's going to default you onto that tab, and then that will allow you to, however you want to create, oops, let's make it 1,000, not 10,000. You can add comments if you like. You can detail what this estimate includes. You do have the ability to build an estimate with line and sequence numbers. You have the ability to create categories and assign dollar amounts for lows and highs to those categories as well. And you also have the option of choosing a pick list. So you could create a pick list, and I evidently chose a bad one. Or we haven't loaded our pick lists. But you could create a pick list and then choose items from the pick list as well. Then you have the option to save or save and accept that estimate. So usually you're going to save that on the admission screen. And then later, when the doctor's actually done the evaluation and had a discussion with the owners, they'll save and accept the one that the owner wants to go with when they authorize specific care. All right, so if you have contact information, you can add contact information here. You can also add attachments. So if you got some referring vet documentation, you can go to the attachment section and attach a document. You're also capable, if your workflow is to add those documents to the pre-admission form, you can actually add attachments on the pre-admission form with this little icon here, attachments, and that's based on how you set the document up. So just make sure that you set the document up to where it can accept attachments, and then you just go to new attachment, find your document to attach and add. All right, and once the owner comes in with the animal, or if there's problems along the way, actually let's start with problems. If there's problems along the way and you need to put this admission on hold so it can't be scheduled, you'll click the hold button. If you have permission to do that, it will place the admission on hold, and basically that's going to throw an error if your front desk folks or whoever sets your appointments tries to set an appointment for this particular admission. With permissions, you can also remove the hold. You can also mark them as no-showed or canceled. And then you can create custom admission forms and tie them to the page, and that will create a button for them as well. So that's the basics of the admission screen. Once you have fulfilled the necessary information when the patient comes into the hospital, you can click the check-in button. And as long as the necessary information, so admitting unit, appointment type, main reason, and personnel has been filled out, along with an owner and a patient, they will be able to click the check-in button. If there's something missing, the button will be grayed out and they won't be able to select it.